The eternal mark of identity and beauty. The tattoos of Pashtun Afghan women by zwaːk Mŭnd Afghan. Amidst the mountainous heart of Haryana, Afghanistan's cultural landscape exists a living testament to an ancient heritage. The facial tattoos of Pashtun women. These markings are not mere ornaments of beauty or decorative traces of tradition. Rather, they are symbols of enduring identity, tribal legacy, and unbroken historical continuity, etched in flesh preserved across millennia. In Pashto, the word khaal, KHL, literally means dot, but in the lived experience of Afghan Pashtun women, it means far more. These dots and intricate designs are not simply for aesthetic pleasure. They are timeless symbols of identity, honor, and ancestral belonging. Markers of an ethos that survived the tides of history. For generations, Pashtun women adorned their faces with khaluna, klun, inscribed carefully by the hands of elder women, custodians of tribal memory. This act, performed before marriage, was both a rite of passage and a symbol of belonging. Using sharpened needles and natural ink, specific dots, lines, and shapes were imprinted across the forehead, chin, and cheeks. To an outsider, it may appear decorative, but to the Pashtun woman, each mark tells a story of lineage, honor, beauty, and blood. In Pashto, these tattoos are called kaaluna, a word full of meaning, beauty, protection, identity. The ritual was done together by women, using natural inks and simple tools, marking a girl's entry into womanhood. The pain was a test of strength, the mark a sign of honor and a connection with other women. Kaaluna were seen as lasting jewels, praised in poems as beauty spots that made women more charming and mysterious. Patterns were chosen to make features look better, each design a personal way to show grace. Beyond beauty, people believed the khaal protected against bad luck, working like a spiritual shield. These marks were more than just tribal signs. They were good luck charms, worn every day for comfort and protection. In every way, the khaal was a source of pride, connection, and strength. The story of the khaal goes way back to the ancient Scythians, wandering people from Central Asia known for their tattoos. Old discoveries show Scythian nobles with fancy tattoos, signs of their importance, tribe, and beliefs. The designs look like those of Pashtun women today. These tattoos find their deepest origins not merely in local custom but in the vast expanse of Indo-Iranian antiquity. They are echoes of the Scythians, those fierce nomadic warriors of Eurasia's steppes, known for their symbolic tattoos, formidable matriarchs, and unrelenting pride. Herodotus, the Greek historian, noted that among the Scythians, also known as the Saka or Sakai, tattoos were marks of nobility. Those who bore none were viewed as low-born, untethered from honor. Archaeologists unearthed remarkably preserved Scythian mummies in Siberia, their skins still adorned with tattoos, stylized animals, mythic creatures, and abstract motifs shockingly similar to those found on Pashtun women's faces today. What we witness in the mountains of Paktia, the valleys of Swat, Gandhara, or the deserts of Sistan is nothing less than the living skin script of a civilization long thought lost, reborn in the quiet resilience of Pashtun women. For Pashtun women, these marks show a history rarely found in books, but alive in every line and dot, a story of travel and survival written on skin. This aesthetic continuity between the Scythians and the Pashtuns is no coincidence. Historical, linguistic, and archaeological evidence reveals that the Pashtuns may not only be heirs of this legacy, but its very continuation. Ancient texts refer to the Saka Tigrak Sauda, the pointed cap Sakas, who wore tall headgear, short tunics, and bore curved daggers known as sagaris. These same descriptions appear in accounts of early Pashtun warriors and tribal leaders. Scholars such as Olaf Karo, Barry Youngerman, and Stephen Tanner argue that Pashtuns may descend, wholly or partially, from these Eastern Iranian peoples. According to A Brief History of Afghanistan by Wahab and Youngerman, the Scythians were among the first waves to settle in present-day Afghanistan, particularly in what became the Pashtun heartlands. Their style of decentralized, clan-based living mirrored what would evolve into the Pashtun tribal structure. They did not impose empires but lived by a fierce code of loyalty, autonomy, and honor. In Afghanistan, a military history, Tanner describes the Afghan highland tribes as descendants of Scythians, Kushans, White Huns, Ebdolo Abdali Heftali, Khaljis, Sakas, and Parthians. He places Ahmad Shah Durrani, the father of modern Afghanistan, in direct philosophical and cultural lineage with the Scythian warrior nomads, a man who bore tribal pride and nationalist vision alike. Even Durrani's poetry, both fierce and loving, echoes this dual identity, tribal by blood, yet supra-tribal in ambition. As centuries passed and migration surged across Central and South Asia, the Scythians were pushed from the Eurasian steppes and found their way to southern Afghanistan, Gandhara, and the northwestern highlands of Pashtun-Scythian. This was no simple migration. It was the genesis of a people. Linguists believe Pashto, with its deep Eastern Iranian roots and uniquely preserved structure, carries echoes of Saka speech. The Pashtun identity itself is a palimpsest, a manuscript rewritten upon over generations, but never erased. Scythians were Eastern Iranian in both tongue and cultural orientation. The Routledge Handbook of Contemporary Pakistan points out that while Afghan and Pashtun are now often interchangeable, the former likely has Scythian linguistic roots and appears in 3rd century sources, suggesting the deep layering of identities over time. Pashtun tattoos are as different as the tribes themselves, each with special patterns and meanings. Designs, dots, lines, shapes, were like a visual language, instantly showing where someone was from and who they belonged to. Hotak tribe, a single dot at the lower center of the forehead, accompanied by one under the chin, and 3 dots across both temples. Toki tribe, a central dot on the forehead, 3 dots on the temples, or a small almond-shaped mark flanked by 4 dots, each symbol a clan identifier. Nasa tribe, 4 dots on the lower forehead and temples, or a single central dot with symmetrical designs. Karoti tribe, a circular cluster of 8 dots, surrounding one in the middle, a sunburst of tribal pride. Suleiman Kel, Ali Kel, aka Kel, a 3-petal motif emanating from a central point on the forehead, ringed by tiny dots under the chin and around the temples. Taraki tribe, stylized floral or leaf patterns on the forehead with a W and V hybrid shape, and carefully placed dots under the chin, each a miniature canvas of identity. These designs were more than adornments. They were maps of belonging, banners of recognition, and aesthetic acts of memory. Among men too, particularly elders and warriors, such marks were occasionally worn, usually in smaller or less decorative forms. Over the last 100 years, Khaluna faced problems from religious groups, yet, for many women, the khaal became a quiet way to resist, a clear link to worlds that were disappearing. Cultural resistance etched in flesh. Despite the waves of foreign ideologies and religiously reactionary forces that sought to erase this tradition, labeling it un-Islamic, the tradition endures. It survives in the highlands of the Suleiman Range, Kasigar, from Ammu to Indus Abasin, the valleys of Nangarhar, and the dusty plains of Kandahar. Here, tattoos are not a contradiction to faith, but a confirmation of cultural pride, far older than the narrow confines of modern interpretations. They are visual hymns to matriarchs who stood in strength, not behind men, but beside them. They are the silent poetry of those who carried water and history in the same hands. They are resistance, not in protest, but in preservation. The Pashtun khaal is more than a tattoo. It's a cultural document, a story of identity and survival. Passed down through women, it connects the present to a faraway, wandering past. Each mark is a word in a silent language of belonging, protection, and beauty. For older women, the khaal is a sign of pride. The khaal is a celebration of a culture that writes its history on the skin of its daughters. These whispering marks are a legacy, quiet, powerful, and lasting, telling the story of Pashtun women across many generations. A testament to beauty, power, and continuity. Today, in remote villages across the Pashtun, the practice of khaal lives on. With every dot, every line, every petal drawn into skin, the legacy of the Saka lives again. These are not dead traditions. They are breathing symbols of an unyielding culture. Facial tattoos are thus not simply ornaments of the past. They are active, living testimonies to an identity forged through centuries of migration, resistance, and rebirth. They whisper stories of mothers, warriors, poets, and queens. Each mark is a fragment of a deeper whole, a visual archive on skin. As long as these tattoos remain, so too does the memory of the Scythian soul in the Pashtun body. And in that memory lies both our past and our power. For in the fading ink of every woman's cheek lies a truth that no empire, no cleric, no invader has ever been able to erase. We are still here. We remember. We are the ink of time. Let us honor our heritage, not only on our faces, but within our hearts. For culture is not what we wear, it is what we are. And in a world that forgets so easily, memory is resistance, culture is strength, and tradition when understood is revolution.